All right, welcome to another video on the MovTech blog that I'm building. I'm Adam Nichols. I am a tech enthusiast. I am also a product manager on the Microsoft Windows Autopatch team, and this is my own personal blog, so my thoughts and everything on here are definitely my own. But I wanted to do a quick video and talk about a feature that just dropped today. Super exciting, called Windows Autopatch Customizing Windows Update Settings. Now, for many of you who know about Autopatch, you know what Autopatch is about, what, 10 months old. It was first released back in June in public preview, GA'd back in July, and we've seen a steady increase on usage within Windows Autopatch. A lot of customers are excited about it. It's a service that is included with Windows Enterprise licensing. So any customers that have invested into Windows Enterprise get to receive Autopatch or Windows Autopatch as part of their offering. So, I mean, I hate to say things are free because, we know in in this world, nothing is free. But for those of you customers who have already, or those of you out there that have already paid for Windows Enterprise licensing, this is just another added benefit, kind of a way of Microsoft saying thank you for your loyalty. And here's a service to help you with Windows updates. So I've done other videos on Windows Autopatch. I've done blogs. I have had other conversations about it, but this is something new today. And like I said at the beginning, customize Windows update settings. Super exciting. I know the PMs who worked on this, and they did a phenomenal job of collecting customer feedback and really driving that back into the product. So let's dive in and take a look at it. For those of you who are looking at how do I turn this on, how do I use it today, I do talk about this in my blog, but we'll go into it for the video. Devices, release management, release settings. This is where the configurations for customizing Windows Update cadence. You also see things like being able to opt out of expedite updates for your entire tenant. Also being able to opt out of Windows 365 apps updates within Autopatch as well as a global setting. And now we have this really cool customize Windows Update Cadence preview. Now, if you're not familiar with the word preview or public preview, what this means is this product is still in development. And I shouldn't say in development, but it's not yet what we would consider 100% enterprise ready. So when we talk about something that's in preview, it means, use at your own risk. Everything should be working, but there might be a little, tweaks here and there that still need to be happening. So we're watching for that within Microsoft, and we actively are working those bugs as they come up. As soon as we feel like the product has reached a certain threshold, we move that onto what we call general availability, and that also comes with full support that you would expect from a normal Microsoft product. So anyways, you have the option here, go into customize. This opens up an editing blade. And the thing you're going to notice here is you have those four rings that are, part of Windows Autopatch, and that's test, first, fast, and broad. Those are the default rings that Autopatch releases and that we put in there. You're going to notice a couple other things in here. You have like deadline driven, and we have our published deferral periods. These shouldn't be a surprise. These have been the same as they've always been, deadlines and even grace periods. But now you have this option off to the right, these little three buttons to go over here and do extra things, extra stuff that wasn't there before that now you can do. Manage notifications being one of those. What are notifications? Well, those of you who are familiar with Windows Update for Business policies, which Autopatch largely leverages to push these configurations or enact these configurations on your tenant, gives you the ability to define how Windows presents those notifications to the end user, when they're using their machine. By default, it's going to show really nice toast notifications. If you're using Windows 11, there's a lot more integration. There's a really cool time notification of how long this update should take to update, stuff like that. And you do have the ability to suppress these. My recommendation is leave it at default. Windows does a great job, in my opinion. Now, I might be partially biased. I work for Microsoft, but um, Windows does a very good job of update notifications. This has evolved. The team that works on this has spent a lot of time speaking to customers, understanding the industry, and really working on a positive experience in updating. And I did a podcast a while back on patching as part of a security. As part of security posture. And this is one of those things that if we can encourage customers to reboot with the least amount of impact, that means we get to a compliant or secure state much quicker. And that's been a huge focus for Microsoft, is helping our customers always remain secure. So I always recommend leaving these as they are, but you do have the option here to set, use the default Windows notifications. If you set not configured and using default, they're the same thing. They're going to use default on either of those two options. But then these others go turn it off, and then we may exclude restart warnings, or we may include restart warnings. So definitely would not recommend turning off all notifications and excluding restart warnings for your end users. They may not be too happy with you, but you may have a business case where that's important. Go for it. Do what you got to do, right? You know what's best for your environment. And I think that's the key here, is providing defaults. And you'll notice that throughout here where we have like defaults listed, and those are our defaults that we recommend listing, but you can change that based upon your business needs. And I think that's the way it should be, is based upon your business needs. So let's go ahead and close this out. We didn't set any policies there, but what we're going to do is go to where the magic is. And this is manage deployment cadence. This is where it gets really cool. You look over here, we have this option for deadline driven. We also have scheduled install. So let's start with deadline driven. And what is deadline driven? Deadline driven is traditional Windows update for business policy. And really what we're saying is, how long are we going to wait before we apply or advertise the update to the device? And that is defined per ring. And since this is our test ring by default, it's 0. But I could set that all the way up to 14 days. I can say, hey, you know what? I don't want my first ring seeing the update until 14 days. Not a great idea. That's kind of a long ways out. You're kind of, risking it quite a bit, but hey, you have the ability to do it. So go nuts, I guess. But you can always leave it at the default as well. You also have the ability to set the deadline. The deadline is really going to be like, once the update's been advertised to the device, when are we going to enforce a reboot? And the important thing about a deadline is deadlines do not honor active hours. So what this means is if you breach a deadline, the device is going to force a restart as soon as possible, whether it's in the middle of the day or not. That's where grace period comes in. Now, grace period says, if I install that update, we're always going to honor at least a 2-day or 0-day grace period or X number of day grace period before we actually enforce that reboot. That's very important because that gives your users the ability that, let's say they go on a long vacation. At Microsoft, people take vacations. At other organizations, people take vacations. You got to get out of the office sometimes. Clear your head, get away from your coworkers, because I'm sure they drive you nuts every now and then. And so maybe you took 2-3 weeks off and you took off somewhere. Well, you missed a patching period, and that device has been offline, sitting in your laptop bag, probably back in your office. It hasn't been touched. So you come back from vacation, and first thing you do is you power up your laptop. It connects to the internet, and what's going to happen? Windows is going to pull updates right away. It's going to check in, say, hey, do you have anything for me? And those updates are going to flow down to the device. What would be a bad experience in this case? It's like Monday morning, you've been gone for 3 weeks. You're trying to go through your emails. You got just a bunch of Teams messages going on, and you're really getting into a rhythm. And what does Windows do to you? And it reboots on you. And I can't tell you how many times I've had people when I was an IT manager just furious that their device rebooted as soon as they came into the office. And I'm like, well, you passed the deadline. That's what happens. Well, grace period helps save you from that. You set a grace period, and then once that deadline kicks in, if you've already breached it, you still have 2 days to get the device rebooted. Now, the nice thing about active hours, and this is where I'll be honest, deadlines seldomly become an issue when active hours is configured. And reason being is active hours is so intelligent that it knows that when you're away from the device, and it knows that you're typically away from the device for a longer period of time, active hours will actually reboot your device. It'll wake up from sleep mode and reboot your device at a convenient time that doesn't interfere with what you're doing. And because Windows does such a great job of resuming, especially Windows 11, the experience is almost seamless. And I say almost because there's all that third-party software, old software, proprietary, and stuff like that that could be problematic. Just heads up. This is why it's always valuable to modernize when you're trying to take a strong security posture. But anyways, that's what these settings are there for. And you can set them. The same policies that you can set or configurations you can set in your Windows Update for Business policy, you can now set right here in your, Windows Autopatch policy. So let's say we want to start at day 1. We're going to make our deadline now 2 days out, and we're going to have a 1-day grace period. We're going to go ahead and save that. And look at that. Updates right here in our policy. And because we did that, we're going to go over to our first, and we're going to go change our deadline for there because, we don't want those to be the same. So we're going to go 2 days, but we're going to leave our 2 days at deadline. Let's leave it 2 days and then 2-day grace period. So we have our first ring starting the day after, and then we're going to leave fast but broad. Now, this is a bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyways just for a demo. The way we allocate these in Windows Autopatch is test. We never allocate devices. We always ask the admin to manually allocate devices to test. But first, we allocate 1% of total devices into first ring. We allocate 9%, or I should say, 9% into fast, and 90% is our broad. 90% of your environment typically lives in the broad ring. And now you have the ability to go in here and completely muck with it. And in this case, we're going to go in and we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to do active hours for everything else, but I'm going to change this one. I'm going to change this one to schedule driven. And what does that mean? This means that you can still define a deferral period of when the updates are going to be available to that device. But I now have the ability to schedule install and restart time. What that means is I can be specific on the day of the week, which week of the month, and what time Windows is now allowed to evaluate, download, execute that update, and restart. This is pretty awesome. In order to do this in the past, you used to have to pile on a number of different policies, set a series of configurations, and now you can do it right here within the Autopatch, blade. So let's say, I only allow my device to patch the 3rd week of every month because that gives me a week after Patch Tuesday typically. And, my machines only install on Saturdays after 3 a.m. Yeah, it's an assembly line. We shut them down Saturday afternoons and they're offline or maybe we shut them off Saturday night and they don't come back online till, Monday morning or whatever it is. I can now save that. And what you see here is this is updated to scheduled install 9 days, not applicable, not applicable. This is really cool. I can go to review. I can review my configurations and apply. And now what's happening is that schedule is being set in the background inside my tenant. That's pretty cool. I'm really loving this whole concept, this whole idea. I'm going to have to play it out to see how it works over the next month over my next patching period, just to see how it works in place. Now, come on. I'm saying I'm going to try this out. I know that we've already had teams testing this out. We've already had customers playing with this and configuring in their environment. So yeah, this isn't going to be the first time we're seeing this go through, but this is the first time I've configured this in my dev tenant. And I'm super, super excited about that. Now I can go back, I can look at things like my release schedule, and a couple things you're going to notice here is my release schedule just updated. What happened is these dates just updated with the new schedules. And you'll see here that a target completion date was actually removed because I went to a scheduled install. And we still have to figure out we know it should be done by a certain date, but if that device is off and we have a release or a scheduled install, it's literally going to wait until the next time it can hit that scheduled install to install. But I hope you guys like some of this. This is pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked about the capability, having it in there. What I would love to do is hear about your feedback. You can go on Twitter You can tweet to Movlen. That's myself. You can tweet to Lior Bella, who is one of our marketing managers. And we would love to hear your feedback. If you want to just send a tweet and just tag Windows Autopatch in it, we would love to hear about it and just hear about your feedback, your thoughts, and anything else you have to say about it. Also, if you want, go to my blog. You can leave notes in my blog as well. Just a heads up, everything that's in my blog is my own personal opinion. This is not officially Microsoft content by any means. So now that that's all in place, done, pretty slick, and actually pretty easy. Now that's all scheduled. So I hope you enjoyed this video. On YouTube, if you want, subscribe. I would really love to have more subscribers. Hit me up on YouTube or LinkedIn. You'll see those links right there on my blog page at mauvtek.com, mauvtek.com. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening.